Hey, my name is Lizzie Smiley, and I absolutely love helping people connect with their calling and all the tools they need to kick roadblocks and excuses right out the door so they can cultivate the life they dream about. If you want to launch, grow, pivot, or scale your Etsy shop, or you've always wanted to develop the mindset and skills to run your own business, then I'm your girl. I've had that entrepreneurial spirit going strong since my very first lemonade stand, and now I'm a work-at-home mama with multiple online companies and a full-time Etsy shop, all while being present with my kids for the everyday chaos and most important milestones. On this podcast, we'll talk about all things business, mindset, Etsy, creativity, dazzling our customers, and so much more. There's plenty of room at this table for you, so scooch on in and let's go. I'm holding nothing back. Welcome to How to Sell Your Stuff on Etsy. I'm so glad you're here. Hello. Hi guys, how are you this week? I hope everything is going well. I'm very glad to be back with you. I'm excited for this episode. I think a lot of you have requested this. I've been hearing from y'all for about a year now being like, can we get some tax advice? And I'm just like, oh my gosh, this subject just makes me cringe. But we need it, right? We need it for our small but mighty businesses, and maybe some not so small and very mighty businesses. So we are going to enjoy this, and the wonderful thing about Sara, who you will meet here in a minute, is that she's going to keep it very simple for us, very palatable, and give us some actionable steps. So in a moment, we will get to that, and I'm looking forward to it because she is a doll. But in the meantime, I have been hearing from so many of you lately. You need to know how much this fills my cup. Like, you guys, when you DM me and email me, it tickles me pink. And the success stories are getting so exciting. I've been having to make big changes to my website to make space for you, like the wonderful testimonials you're sending in. And I love hearing about how just listening to the podcast is making a big difference for you. And then I am loving the feedback I am getting on the Etsy SEO workshop that I dropped last month, which is a shorter course that just teaches you how to set up your listings so that they have really strong SEO. That's how you get your listings seen and sold, is to have the right keywords. So that's been really fun. You know, you always wonder when you put out something new in the world, like, how are people going to find it helpful and effective? And so your feedback has been wonderful about that. And I'm excited for those of you who are still going to jump on and take advantage of that. And then, the shop reviews have been fun. I didn't know how I was going to feel about just kind of like getting your questionnaire and your link and then going in and going through your shops without talking to you face to face. Like, I'd always done the one-on-one Zooms before, but it's actually going really well. And I think, you guys are really been thorough on the questionnaire. So I know a bit about you and what your goals are. And, it's been so fun putting those reports together and then seeing you get excited about the possibilities. So yeah, if you guys hadn't heard yet, when I did the questionnaire, I did kind of a survey last month being like, okay, I'm coming back from maternity leave. I have a limited time. I can't do it all, but I put out a survey asking what service was the most important, and overwhelmingly, I mean, something like over 90% of you were like, we want shop reviews. And so I boldly released that service, I should say, more of a service, and y'all have boldly taken advantage of it. So those are fun and they're going well, and it's just great. It's great seeing what you're doing and being able to make a lot of really specific suggestions to get you to the next level. So that's kind of like the update on my end, and I hope you're doing well. Keep sending me your updates. I love them, and I love, being able to share your testimonials with others. Like, now the website's got some new ones up. I've got more I've got to add. You guys can go take a look and see how people are doing. But let's get into today's episode, all about accounting and numbers and making sure that we are doing what the government tells us to do for our taxes. So today I brought on an expert, and she is an accountant. I'm going to tell you all about her in a second, but I love her because she can kind of break it down more simply. She is such your just everyday sweetheart girl. She's a very, very kind, wonderful person. I also find her very interesting. She's kind of got a funny side to her. And she actually really kind of called me on it, because I definitely had in my mind what I kind of thought an accountant would be like, and she is not like that at all. She's definitely she's very good at what she does, but she's got the creative side to her. And that felt very relatable. It made it more palatable for me because usually, like, if I was listening to someone else's podcast and there was an episode about accounting, I'm your girl who is skipping that one. So I felt like Sara did such a good job of making this palatable. So let me tell you about her. Sara is the owner of Mareish Bookkeeping, a bookkeeping and CFO services agency serving creative entrepreneurs who want to grow their business into a sustainable one that serves their quality of life goals by allowing them to focus on parts of the business they love rather than the accounting. Yes, sign me up for that. She has helped clients get organized and embrace the numbers side of their business, combining data and intuition for ultimate aligned decision making. Sara is the host of the Profits Affogato podcast, where she gives inspiration and actionable tips to make the numbers make sense in your business. So she is going to share everything from just like beginner tips and what you need to know about your taxes, like really helpful stuff if you're just getting started. And then she's going to be sharing some more strategic insight a little further in the episode. And then what's amazing is like she has resources, free resources, paid resources. She can be your accountant. I'm really excited that we have this resource in our back pocket. Like, she is for sure going on our resources page because it's just, this is something that we all need, whether it's like the freebies or it's we need to hire her. I'm excited to have a referral for you guys now. So enough of all that. Please help me welcome Sara to the podcast. Hi, Sara. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thank you so much for
I'm
having
excited
me.
because to be honest, I need people like you in my life, like really smart people who can deal with numbers. Do you ever see Step Brothers? It's so crude. I saw it back like in college when I did not have morals or values like I do now. But you know, and they're like, do we just become best friends?
Yeah.
So I'm super excited and I'm so grateful we get to have this conversation. I guess we'll just like launch right in. If you're good with that, I really want to hear, because like I'm just like
Yeah,
sitting here. I
definitely.
want to know more about you. You know, I've gotten to hear a little bit, and I want the listeners to know. Tell us a bit about your story. Like, how, I personally need to understand how one chooses to go into numbers for like a living. Don't get me wrong. I don't mean it. I mean it like so respectfully. Like, I have so much admiration because you just like asked me to do a simple equation. And I'm like, no. But I would love to know, how did this become a passion for you? How did you get into accounting?
Mhm.
Let's start there.
Okay, yeah. Sometimes I don't even know how I got into it. Growing up, I seemed to like lean more to the creative side. I was very big in music and a definite band nerd through high school and all of
Nice.
that. And my mom was actually an accountant, and she went back to school when I was in elementary school, so like third grade or something. And I remember her studying for the CPA exam, and I would be like curled up next to her at night looking at this gigantic book full of numbers and equations. And I was just like, equal parts of like, wow, she is so smart, and wow, I would never want to do that. And yet, as I grew older and kind of appreciated more about it, I just kind of fell into it and ended up really enjoying studying it in college. And went kind of the normal accounting route of getting my master's degree and CPA license and starting in public accounting, and worked in tax for about 10 years. And there was definitely a lot of creativity missing from my life for that period. I wasn't playing music anymore. I was working a lot during, the busy seasons with the deadlines. They get a little stressful sometimes when you're in that public accounting life. And so, then lockdown hit and all of our routines turned upside down, and just was a really good opportunity for me to reevaluate my
Wow.
life and even like my day-to-day schedule. Yeah. And think, what's missing? Like, what can I add back in? Because I still loved accounting, and but just needed more of a balance and more, honestly, creativity. And like starting my own business has been like the ultimate in creativity. And of course, I'm back to playing music and stuff like piano, and I rented a marimba for a few months, and just like little things that I used to do as a child, bringing that back into my life
I
too.
love that you were so intentional about it. You know, we always hear these stories about, I mean, pretty frequently, of people who just changed everything after 2020. Like, we were all forced to sit with ourselves there for, I mean, not those of us who had little children,
Mhm.
which you did, but I guess but you're an organized human being. I was gonna say, those of us who had children, we did not have time to sit with ourselves. There was no boredom. But like I don't know that I've actually had right here on the podcast like a live like a reconstruction story. Like, oh yeah, I totally revamped
Mhm.
everything. I mean, we all made some changes, but that's amazing.
Yeah, yeah. I had a 6-month-old at the time. I'm not really sure what I was thinking, but I tend to kind of go all in on these things, even when the timing is a little bit
Okay, yeah,
nuts.
but you only had the one, and 6 months, they're still napping. Um, Not
Mhm.
completely mobile, like, you can put them in a playpen. We've got that is amazing. Okay, and also your answer sort of answered my follow-up question because I was wondering how like how you were drawn to the creative entrepreneur. Like I feel like that's a choice. I feel like working with us is a choice, you
Mhm.
know. Because we are a lot of times all over the place. Like yeah. So was that just totally because you had that creative side to you? Or is there more to it that you were like, I really want to help these folks? Or
Yeah, I think a lot of it was seeing myself in that
oh,
person. Like that could have easily been me had I not studied accounting. I definitely have that creative side of me of like the disorganized kind of like spontaneous part of me. And it's so interesting because everybody wants to put you in a
okay.
box, right? And like accountants are like the type A organized and like some of those things are me, but some of them aren't,
Tell me more.
And so it's just oh gosh. I guess comparing myself to my mom because that's who I kind of looked after for all of this. She was very type A and organized and neat and tidy and like I've never been a tidy person as like a child even growing up. And so yeah, it's just like having both parts of those. Like I appreciate the organization and accounting and like my work, is obviously very like organized and tedious and clean, but when it comes to life, like I have both parts in me, I
I
guess.
love that. You just like that's such a good point. I have never talked to an accountant who wasn't the type A, but I mean like that makes total sense because some of the creative entrepreneurs, I'm not one of them, but who listen are extremely organized. Like their creativity is off the
Mm-hmm.
charts and they make these beautiful artistic things, but like their life is in order, you know, and I'm just like you can't come over until I've had
Mm-hmm.
3 days to clean, you know. Um
Yeah, that's me.
but that's also because we're pets.
Or my friends just know me now and they know it's
Yeah,
instant.
I'm like, it's cool. We've got the litter ro or litter we do have a litter robot for the cats, but I was thinking of the robot that vacuums. We have one of those. I can't remember
Mm-hmm.
the name of it because my daughter named it Boss. So we just always called it Boss. Was not gonna register.
So
But
cute.
like, yeah, I need all the help I can get. Okay, that makes me feel so much better. Um Gosh, okay, yeah, so I love that, and I also love thinking about you curled up next to your mom, and part of you just being like, "Absolutely not," and then
Yeah.
and then, like, I kinda feel like the same thing happened to me. I totally railed against my mom being like, "You should go into sales," and I was just like, "I'm never doing that," and I mean, I didn't, but I'm like this marketing person, you know? I love marketing, so sometimes they even though we don't want them to, they know us best. That's really sweet to think about.
Yeah.
So do you think we could like pick your brain a little bit about some of the accounting things that we need to know for our businesses? I don't even know what to call them. I'm just gonna call them things, just
Absolutely.
accounting things. Okay.
Yep. Sure.
I think one of the biggest questions we probably have in our little creative spaces is like what are some of the key deductions for our Etsy business, specifically Etsy sellers, that we should be taking
Mhm.
advantage of? Because my guess is like they're not all obvious.
Right. Yeah, they're not. I mean, some are more obvious than others, like software subscriptions, like, website costs and things like that. Of course, Etsy fees, processing fees, things like that. Materials to make the goods, of course. Some that might be missed or is the mileage deduction. Anytime you're driving to get supplies, to or from the store, to or from the post office to mail out
Oh my
orders,
gosh, I never did that.
you can keep track of
Oh
your
my gosh.
mileage. Yeah, and it's for 2023, so we're recording in February, it's 65.5 cents per mile. So like, those little trips might seem easily to track throughout the year, but they really do add up, and yeah, so that's definitely one of them. Home office deduction. So, if your part of your home is used regularly and exclusively for business, just be very careful that it is exclusively for business and it's not like, oh, it's like I work out here, and like sit on the couch and run my office or my business, things
So if
like
you work
that.
in your bedroom, like if you have
Um,
like a workspace, could you just figure out what that square
mhm.
footage is? Or okay.
Yeah. So if there's like a little corner of your bedroom where that's, the place that you work and you have your desk set up, yeah, you can take that little corner and, calculate the business square footage out of the entire square footage of your house. And, once you calculate that, you have like your mortgage or your rent, your utilities, things like that. That's, a small business portion, which again might not seem big, but it can add up. Um, and one thing I see missed a lot is like your cell phone. You're probably using your cell phone for business, a portion of it, so try to estimate that portion. If it's, 50% personal, 50% business, you can deduct that
Okay.
too.
Wow. These are some good little nuggets. I mean, I'm just like, whoa. My husband does all of our taxes, and but I write out all the expenses. I write all of these things out, and I never even thought of some of those things. Some of it is great though. Like, it's so easy to think of the physical products, like you said, but even I don't think I even caught
Mm-hmm.
all of the websites that I use, all the memberships that I use, or like a training course. Like if I go to sharpen my skills and I take a training course,
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
it's like it gets, but
absolutely.
like you got kind of keep track as you go because there are so many different things you'll forget about them. Do you
Mm-hmm.
have suggestions on how to do that? Like, how should we be keeping track of deductions?
Yeah. When somebody is first starting a business, honestly, QuickBooks might be a little bit too
Yes,
much
agreed.
for what they need. It's kind of best to keep it simple. Honestly, like in a spreadsheet of keeping a list of your expenses and your income, and whether that's like a template, like one that I have where it has it, mapped out for you and it calcutes your profit
Oh,
for you.
nice.
Or if it's something that you
Yeah, because you said
create,
spreadsheet, and
often that's
I
all
like
you need to
shuddered.
start on.
So that if you've got one that'll do it, that's perfection.
Yeah, we'll call it a
Okay.
template.
Yeah,
How's
I
that?
think that's extremely helpful. Yeah, because
Better?
I'm sitting here think I have to open up an Excel spreadsheet and put. Okay, so
Right.
that's not a template. Sounds good. Okay, and that because like it used to be, you would like write it down on a little book, right? Or maybe you get like a mileage book for that piece, and then you bring it in later. Or how do you do that?
Yeah, so mileage, there are a few options. There are apps you can
Oh,
use, of
sure.
course.
Lovely.
Um, yeah. And part of the small biz starter kit is the one that I have with the template for the profit and loss worksheet, and it also has a mileage tracker too. And that honestly, that's what I use for my own business. So it's a Google Sheets thing that you can access on your phone or your computer, and just kind of plug in where you're leaving from, where you're going, how many miles, and it just tallies it throughout the year, and it even tells you like this is your mileage deduction for the year, so you can watch that number grow as the year goes by, which
That
is
is
pretty fun.
super so I just have to remember to do it. I just have to remember to calculate it, like,
Yeah.
start and finish. That's so nice because if I get out of that car and I don't like, mark something down, it's just never gonna happen. Oh my
Mhm.
gosh.
Yeah, so you sit in the car and you're going to the store, like, okay, this is a business trip. Just, type it in and log it.
Hey, you guys, coming in hot with a pro tip. Are you ready? Do you use special fonts, graphics, SVGs, or other digital goods to create your products or run your Etsy business? You need Creative Fabrica. So, for years in my shop, I walked that fine line of either using stock fonts and graphics that were right there on Canva, and I had a ton of trouble differentiating myself because let's be honest, everyone else was using them too. Or I had to go invest a ton of money, sometimes hundreds of dollars, to buy them direct from a designer so I could create something extra unique and stunning, right? And don't even get me started about the whole factor of making sure I had a commercial use license so that I could use it for business. It was a whole nother expense and hassle, to be honest with you. But I have since found a better way, and I'm letting you in on the secret, okay? Enter Creative Fabrica. You guys, getting a membership to Creative Fabrica has been a game changer for me, okay? I've literally saved thousands of dollars. I'm able to create faster because I no longer have to scour the internet for what I need. It's very convenient. Not to mention, I don't have to wait for my budget to allow for a new digital asset before I can create something new. I have this membership. I can just access it whenever I want. So, what is it? Creative Fabrica is a website where you can access unlimited digital goods for just $9.99 a month, like $9.99. This my jaw drops because this is an insane deal because everything comes with a commercial license as well, which means you're allowed to use them legally for profit. And I have to chuckle because this is less than I used to pay for just one font before, y'all. Like $9.99 for access. Okay, they have over 6 million fonts, graphics, and other digital resources that you will have full access to at any time. It's essentially like to be honest, this is like the top Etsy seller's best kept secret that you are now privy to. Welcome to the family. Did I mention you belong here? You belong here. And on top of that, Creative Fabrica, so they discovered this podcast. They reached out to me and they were like, Lizzie, we want to offer your audience like a special little perk. I'm just like, well, we love that. Tell us what it is. So now you guys can get 1 month free. You can get a free trial for up to 10 downloads and you can test drive it and see if it's a good fit for you. Like I literally pay my own membership. I love it. So if nothing else, like take a free trial, stock up on some fresh stuff for free. Thank you, Creative Fabrica. And if you love the service as much as I do, it's just $9.99 per month to keep it going. And you can also cancel at any time, no questions asked. I love that. I love it when they do that. So if you want to jump in on this sweet deal, just go to howtosellyourstuff.com/creative. Again, that's howtosellyourstuff.com/creative. And you can grab that free trial. I'm so excited, you guys, to share this with you because this is like one of those pieces to the puzzle that can just change everything. It can just up the whole game. So just like let me know how it goes, okay? The next thing I want to touch on, which again, it just makes me cringe, but it's really important. The quarterly taxes that and you're going to have to explain what that means because you don't want me doing it. Talking a bit about like submitting them because small business owners, like you don't just get to submit everything once a year. So guys, listen up. If you were like distracted or you're multitasking, listen now because this is going to be really important. Sarah, tell us what quarterly taxes are and like what do we need to know about them? What when do we need to submit them? I can't even talk about it. See, I can't even articulate the sentence. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, no, that was a perfect question. So the high level way to think about this is when you are employed, like let's say with a full-time or part-time job, and you're getting a paycheck every month or every couple of weeks, there's withholding taken out of that paycheck. So that money is going straight from the employer to the IRS. You're not even seeing it, right? And it's happening like evenly throughout the year. When you're self-employed, you have to pay those self-employed taxes, but now it's all for you to figure out and for you to send in. And rather than just send it all April 15th, the IRS still wants those taxes throughout the entire year. So that's why they've created this quarterly tax schedule. So the payment dates are January, April, June, and September, which doesn't quite line up with the quarters, but that's when they are. I know. And so the process is to calculate, a certain percentage of your profit. And on my tool, I even have like a number where you can plug in like 25%, and then it'll tell you each month, like, hey, here's 25% of your profit. You might want to set this aside this month so that it's ready to go for your next quarterly tax payment. And of course, that's something that your, tax preparer can calculate more specifically for you because there's a lot more that goes into your entire tax situation than your profit. But it's a good starting point to, every time you do your bookkeeping, look at that profit number and set aside about 20 to 30%, depending on your situation. And I always recommend, setting aside that money in a high yield savings account, just a totally separate account where it's a pain in the butt to access that money. So it's out of your, eyesight and it's just there ready to go. And you're not hit with any surprises in April or whenever you're filing your taxes.
So, okay. Do you just have to start this right away? Is there a certain income level where you're required to do
it? Yeah, there is a certain income level. I don't know it off the top of my head, but
the point is the person who hasn't made any money yet doesn't need to be worrying about this.
Right.
We can look that up and put it in the show notes. I know I kind of went off script there, but I just like my brain got confused. Like, wait, the person who's brand new or hasn't even started yet is going to be like, I have to do what? And I'm thinking, no, I think there's like you don't have to until a certain point. And then where did you say you just keep it in the savings account, or do you actually pay 4 times a year?
Mm-hmm. Pay 4 times a year. And also back to your previous question about the income amount, it is based on profit. And so, that's taking your revenue and then subtracting out your costs. And then that's the number that you're taking, that calculation for. So if you're not even making like a huge amount of profit yet, even if you're making it like more revenue, but your expenses are eating some of that away, that might delay too when you need to start paying it. But yeah, as far as when you actually give it to the IRS, those are those months I mentioned, January, April, June, September. And you can make those payments online through, the irs.gov website. They have like a payment, or you can mail them in. You can mail a check.
Okay, no, that was my next question. I'm like, where do we even go? Like, I don't even know what to do. My husband handles it, guys. I promise I'm not like non-compliant. I just don't handle it. Okay, so you just go to the website. That's awesome. Okay, okay. I'm next little bite is you have to take this
Deep
little
breath.
bites at a time. Um,
Yeah.
do you have an opinion about like TurboTax for those of us who are probably too small to be hiring someone yet, the do-it-yourselfers?
Mhm.
What do you think are the pros and cons of something like that?
Yeah, I think TurboTax and those kind of like do-it-yourself options, those softwares are a great option for those just getting started. I've just used it myself, had a great experience. I think that when might be the time to upgrade or like outsource it to somebody who can help you is when the taxes are getting a little bit bigger, your profits getting a little bit bigger, and you do have to pay a little bit more attention to the estimated taxes, calculating those, and also when you want to kind of move into the tax planning sphere more than just rather than just like filing your tax return, but actually looking in advance and like what are some strategies I can take. There are strategies based on like when you purchase assets or something, like different things you could adjust the timing for, whether you want to save on taxes or save on your income.
Okay,
There's
I
a
just
trade off
I just
there.
see you simplifying this. Like your brain is trying to make this easier for us right now. I want to acknowledge that, Sarah. Thank you, because I can see you trying to make it like, okay, I can't use that word with Lizzie. She's not going to know. So I just needed to say thank you right there. That is amazing. I appreciate it. I'm sort of tracking a little bit. Um, Now here's a big one that I we do it like what are your thoughts about tax extensions? So like we typically do the
Oh
postponement
yeah.
where we like do the little filing thing up
Mhm.
up for April 15th, but then we don't do all of it until October. It just works better with like our how our family year goes. We've got more time. But anyway, I just want to know
Mhm.
do you think they're good, bad, neutral? Like someone told me once like don't do that, you're more likely to get audited. I'm just curious if you have an opinion.
Yeah, it's very common to
It
file an
is.
extension.
Oh, okay.
I
I thought I
don't
was like
think
the bad girl.
Yeah, I don't think it's a red flag that I've seen. Yeah, it's very common. A lot of times, in public accounting, like the more complicated tax situations, like business returns can be extended too. And so if they're waiting on their information return from a flow through business that they're invested in or something, like there's a lot
Huh.
of reasons why people extend. But just keep in mind that it's an extension of time to file, but not an extension of time to pay. So the tax is still due April 15th. And of course, at that point, usually it's an estimate of how much you might owe. And, it'll be either refunded or you'll owe more in October. So just keep that in
Oh,
mind
I
too.
hate the idea of them holding like making interest on my money in the interim. If it's
I
annoying.
know. I know.
Okay, okay. So while we're on Etsy in the United States, at least, they pay our sales tax for us, which is a dream. But once we start our own website, and there
Mhm.
are a lot of my listeners who do both, that becomes like sales tax becomes our problem, like whether we subscribe to a service or what. But so, what do you think we need to know about that to make sure we're doing the right thing?
Yeah. So I do have a whole podcast episode on
Oh,
this too, so which we can
yeah,
link if you want for more
send it to me for
information.
sure.
Yeah. But yeah, and that kind of I'll hit the high level basics of sales tax. So it is a consumption tax. So think about the end user who is purchasing the product, which makes sense, right? Because if they want to get the most tax, they would tax the highest price. So it's not going to tax the wholesale price, it's going to tax the retail price, right? So the end user. And so based on that, it's where the end user lives. And of course, this has gotten much more complicated with the incredible growth of online business and e-commerce, right? Because it used to be like if your store was in, Dallas,
Yes,
Texas, people would come to your store and they would purchase it in Dallas, Texas. So you know
yes.
exactly the sales tax rate,
That was so
which of course
nice.
varies by
Yeah,
state.
and I think it was, like there wasn't any online
Yeah,
at the
yeah,
time in
yeah.
Texas, like, that was a newer thing. I remember when that changed and we all lost our
Mhm.
marbles.
Yes, yes, yes. Um, so yeah, now it's much more complicated. Every state has their own tax rates. Every state has their own rules on exactly what is taxable and what isn't taxable. Digital products are a big one that is, under scrutiny, I guess, under like changing a lot. A lot of states are kind of looking into digital products more, and more states are considering them taxable for sales tax. One thing I will say to watch out for when you are if you start your own website and are needing to handle sales tax by yourself is really, really pay attention to the settings when you're setting up that site, because sometimes it's just a check of a box that says start collecting sales tax from all of my customers, like in whatever state they're in. And you don't want to start doing that until you've hit those thresholds. So there's economic thresholds and nexus thresholds, which or economic nexus and physical nexus. So economic nexus is when you have hit a certain number of dollars in sales or number of sales transactions. And again, every state is different, and I'm not a sales tax expert, but like a common threshold would be like $100,000 or 200 sales transactions, just to give you some sort of like big picture ballpark. Physical nexus would be if you have like an employee there or a location there or something like that. So yeah, be very careful when you're setting up your website and make sure that, you're complying with sales tax on where you need to collect it. And consult a professional. That's how I'll
Yeah,
end that
no,
one.
that's important to say, because like you can't, that's not something you can be general on about, that's like
Mhm.
specifically.
And if you collect it, let's say from California customers, technically that's money that you owe to the California, state revenue department. It's not like income to you. It's like you're collecting it from your customers in order to remit it to the state. And so if you accidentally are collecting something that you don't mean to be, it might put you in a difficult situation.
Okay, so if we have our
Mhm.
own website in addition to Etsy and we need to deal with this, and again, it's not like we're, at the point where we're really bringing in a professional, are there services that you can pay for that like connect to your back end payment processing that'll take care of it for you? They'll like collect it and pay it out?
Yes, and actually, as you mentioned, that's another really good point. Is if you have Etsy and another store, those nexus are cumulative. So you might not reach the threshold just on Etsy, but you might after adding in this
Okay.
other store, and it's harder to track, right? Because you'd have to add everything together. So yeah, there are a couple of services that I know of off the top of my head: Quaderno, Taxdome. Those are platforms where you can link all of your sales channels together, and it'll look big picture at, okay, she's hit 150 transactions over here and 50 over here, and maybe that meets a threshold for a certain state that needs to start filing for.
Yeah,
So
that all
yeah,
needs to be
it
automated
gets
for sure.
complicated.
Like I cannot be using
I
scratch paper and trying to
know,
figure that mess out. No.
right?
Okay.
It's a mess.
I would love to hear your thoughts on the S Corp election, which, well, first of all, can you please
Mhm.
explain what it is? And then maybe give us some of your advice on when we should be taking it.
Yeah. So I'll start with the second part because I think that will be an easier answer. So when to start looking into it is when you are profiting at least around $50,000 a year. That's when you can start like running the numbers and seeing, would this make sense for me? That's kind of the level I've seen where it can save money on taxes. So the S corp election is an election you make with the IRS to tax your entity as an S corporation. And basically, what that means is, so you have to already have an LLC in order to make this election. And it doesn't actually change like the state structure of your business, it just taxes it differently. And the way that it saves money is actually on payroll taxes. So when you make the S corp election, you actually become an employee owner of your business. So you have to put yourself on payroll. And with that, you have to set a reasonable compensation. And the reason is because then the payroll or the self employment taxes are only based on your salary rather than the entire profit as it was of your single member LLC. So if you're, let's say, I'll give you some numbers. Let's say your profit was $100,000 on a single member LLC. You make the S corp election and you say, okay, well, my reasonable salary is only $50,000 a year. And of course, there's a lot that goes into that calculation. So that's something you'll need to consult, a professional with to get your reasonable compensation, your salary. So then you're only paying self-employment taxes, which is 15.3% on the $50,000 rather than the
Yeah. Okay.
$100,000. So you can see how
Yeah.
that would make
Big
some
difference.
tax savings. Yes, and of course there are things to take into account when you're running the math and seeing if it'll save you money. Of course, the cost of payroll, whether you're I wouldn't recommend doing it yourself, but whatever payroll service you're using. I don't even like doing
Uh-uh.
payroll myself. I would like using a service. It is a separate tax return. So as a single member LLC, it's on your Schedule C of your 1040 is where you report your business income. If you make the S corp election, there's a Form 1120S. So it's a completely separate tax return that then flows into your 1040.
I definitely like had to stop listing at some point, but that's okay because I don't. That was amazing, and somebody needed that for sure. So that the blank look on my face is I'm still 3 sentences back trying to figure out what you said. That
Oh, I know. Yeah. There's a lot to that. I
that
know.
you know what, you were brilliant choosing to start the answer with, "Let me just tell you when you even need it," so that you can stop listening.
Yeah. If you even have to
Yeah.
listen to this.
Or like if you already have a tax professional, you can stop listening right now because you'll want to.
Yeah.
Well,
Ask
and
them.
actually, I really would like to know what you think. When is the right time to hire with taxes? And I know we touched on this a little bit, but I I
Mhm.
think maybe going a little deeper would help. Like, how do we know when we
Mhm.
need a professional to be filing for us? Is it an income level?
No, I definitely, if you're at that level of thinking of making the S corp election, and definitely if you have made the S corp election, hire
Oh,
it
that's
out.
good. That's good advice.
Um, yeah, yeah, yeah. If you are still a single member, either a sole proprietor or a single member LLC, and your income and expenses are pretty manageable in that like tax season isn't a big surprise, then you're probably okay doing it by yourself for a while. If there's one year where you're like, wow, this was way different than what I expected for whatever reason, then it might be a good idea to hire somebody who can kind of keep an eye on where things are and kind of just allow you to be more prepared and making sure that estimated taxes are being sent in so you're not hit with any penalties on that, things
You know
like
what?
that.
And this isn't even on our talking points, but I think it's a really easy and helpful thing to answer. What are the things that a professional does for you? Because you just kind of said some things. I was like, oh, I thought that
Great
was my
question.
problem. So, like, I mean, because I always just thought, oh, I give you all of the stuff and then you file for me, so I don't have to deal with. But it sounds like it's more than that.
Yeah, so it definitely depends on who you're working with. And this is, I guess I'll call this questions to ask a tax preparer before you start working with them. Um, Ask them, do you just file my return once a year and that's the only time I hear from you? Or are there meetings throughout the year? Do you help me with tax planning or do you just do the purely like I file your taxes and then I'm done with you kind of thing? Um, Ask how much communication you have with them, whether it's like unlimited email access. Like there are kind of two different camps of how tax preparers go about their business. There's that was a weird
No,
way
I
to put it.
love that. I'm like, now you've got my
Let's
attention.
call it two different two different business models. um, Kind of the tax prep more traditional model is you send in your information, they plug it all in, they file your tax return, and then they send you a bill, right? So you don't know really like how much money they're going to charge you. Like it should be similar than last year, but if you, I don't know, have a lot of different unique tax circumstances, it might be double the amount because it took them twice as long to prepare it, and that doesn't necessarily add any more value to you. It's just how long they took to actually get your tax return done. And then the other business model, I guess I would say, or level of support would be kind of a monthly retainer, is what I've seen, where it's a certain amount like payment per month, like a subscription model. And with that, you have unlimited communication, which I love because as somebody who has worked in both models, preparing taxes in both, when you're billed hourly, sometimes the clients, don't feel like picking up the phone because they don't want to add to their bill, right? But then,
Huh.
different decisions they're making in their lives can have big impacts on their tax situation. And so the more the CPA can get involved and advise with those and educate with those, the better it is for everybody, in my opinion. And then along with those, unlimited communication, a lot of times you have like meetings. So either like twice a year or quarterly meetings and kind of checking in on where everything is at with the business and the tax situation and any planning opportunities there are too.
That really helps because I like the idea of kind of being coached through it, throughout the not that I have to sort of figure it
Mm-hmm.
out and then throw the person all the paperwork, but like kind of having it be an ongoing education thing. That sounds really nice, especially for a newer entrepreneur, someone who's just like kind of maybe thought it was going to go slower and all of a sudden their business sort of took off and it's just
Yeah.
like I don't know I can't manage all this and I don't know. So that's really helpful. Well, let's talk about your resources and services. Like I know you specialize in creative entrepreneurs and
Mhm.
all that. Like how could you help and support us? What's available?
Yeah. So our bread and butter is actually bookkeeping. That's what we love to serve clients with. We have our done for you monthly bookkeeping, which is kind of our main service. And with that is, of course, unlimited communication because I'm big
I
on that.
love that.
Yeah. And we also, so we, prepare their bookkeeping for all the clients, and then we deliver them each month. And with, of course, like when I started this, I kind of looked at it from the client perspective, and again, putting on my creative person hat, and I was like, if I'm just sent a spreadsheet or a PDF, profit and loss statement or balance sheet, like honestly, would I really look over? Like I would, because I'm an accountant too, but a lot of people are going to see a profit and loss statement and be like, okay,
Literally, you're talking to her. Yeah.
um, yeah, like that's nice. I didn't get anything from that, but I'm glad to know it's done. And so we send out visual metric reports to monthly to all of our clients. And basically, we're just taking that data, all the data that you're going to care about, and plugging it into charts and graphs. So you can see your profit over time. So you can see your profit margin, which, by the way, this is for anybody. This is a really good metric to track. It's your revenue, your net revenue, sorry, your profit divided by your revenue. And that tells you how many cents per dollar of revenue that you're keeping
Huh.
as profit. So if you have $100,000 revenue, $50,000 profit, that's a 50% profit margin. So you're keeping 50 cents of every dollar that's coming in. So that's a fun one to track month to month and kind of see where it's going up and down. I digress. So we give them lots of charts and graphs just to kind of make that data more
We
digestible
love
and
that. So
informative.
is there like a linked system where like we're just entering in data and it's coming to you automatically, or are we sending you bulk stuff like however often?
So we actually get as much access as we can, so we don't have to bug you for anything. We
Wow.
get read-only access to your bank accounts, so we can just go in and pull them and reconcile them each month, and basically do all your bookkeeping. And we usually just have a handful of transactions that we're like, "Hey, what is this? We've never seen this. Is this business? Is this personal? Like, what is it?" And the client sends that right back, and we just deliver all of
Wow.
that.
And then you have more than that, right? Like I know you have a website with other services that
Mhm.
can help, someone like me who's not quite ready for a tax professional, but like definitely needs some of those supporting documents. What else can we get from
Yes.
you?
Yeah. So, as we were talking about deductions, I mentioned a few of them, but I do have my write off worksheet that has 20 plus common tax deductions and some not so common ones. And it's a great checklist where, as it's February right now, as you're gathering your tax documents, you can refer to that and say, oh, I didn't think about that. I should look into that. And if you do already have a tax preparer, it's a great conversation starter and say, like, hey, so what do I need to give you for this mileage deduction? And if you don't have it yet, that's okay. You can start today and track it so that you have it for next year. So that's a free
Oh,
worksheet
it's
that I have that
free.
will
Oh,
link.
awesome.
It is, yeah. Yeah. And then the small biz starter kit is that template I was talking about that has the profit and loss workbook
Okay.
template, does all the math for you, and then it has the mileage
Oh,
tracker as
wow.
well.
Okay, so we've got the free, like here's the deduction checklist to check.
Mhm.
We've got the one that'll do the math for us. I'm just gonna call it, and then you
Mhm.
can actually we
Yeah.
can hire your company personally to help us to be our personal accountant,
Mhm.
basically. Okay.
Right.
All right, guys.
Yep.
I will link all of that because some of us need to jump on that like right away. Um, and as far as like keeping in touch with you, are you on social media? Like, are there ways that we can interact with you?
So yeah, I'm on Instagram, and then I do have my podcast called Profits Affogato, where we talk all about bookkeeping and accounting things that small business owners need to know, and we interview other business owners. Which that podcast is on a pause right now. It's probably coming back this summer, but there are about 30 fantastic episodes for you to listen to
That
there
is
too.
amazing that there's so much more. I love a good podcast. Okay, I'm throwing another question at you, but it's going to be easy because we should have really done this up front. Can you please tell us where the name Marish came from, because it's like one of my favorite things about you.
Yes, I would love to. Well, thank you. Also, it was so special to me that when we first connected, you're like, first of all, I love your business name and I know exactly what it means. So it is a horse term for people who are not, equestrians, I guess. But a mare is a female horse. And I grew up riding horses. And when a mare was acting like kind of bratty, like pinning her ears or swishing her tail, at another horse or something, just getting irritated, somebody would be like, oh, she's acting marish, which basically was like moody and hormonal. And so I was like, well, that sounds a whole lot like corporate America where you can't have any emotions as a woman. So I'm taking it and respinning it as emotions are okay, they're good, they're part of life, and we can be in business and be
And be
emotional creatures.
feisty about accounting.
Be feisty. I
It
love that.
endeared me to
Yes.
you so much. I'm like, all right, this girl is funny. I need to know more.
Well, thank
Okay,
you.
that was the perfect little finale there. Thank you so much, Sarah. I apologize for being a hot mess through all of this, but you have been lovely and very tolerant and very much proven that you are great for the creative entrepreneur. So thank you for everything you shared. Thank you for becoming my friend. Thank you for just for being here today.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. I had a great time.
Awesome. You guys, thank you for listening in. I would love your feedback on this episode, just like all others. Jump onto Sarah's resources. And in the meantime, go make something awesome. I'll see you next time. Hey guys, quick little after party message here. If you're at a stage in your business where you need to up your bookkeeping game, Sarah's Small Biz Starter Kit is a great resource that will help keep things a lot more simple for you than taking the leap into something as complicated like QuickBooks if you're not quite ready for that. So, if you decide to grab that Small Biz Starter Kit with mileage tracker, just go to mareishbooks.com/kit and use my code Lizzie30, Lizzie 30 for 30% off. And again, that's Mareish Books, MAREISH books.com/kit and use code Lizzie30 for 30% off. Just don't forget, it's Lizzie. It's not with the Y. And as always, all of that is in the show notes for you. Just wanted to make sure I put in a little plug about that discount in case some of you need that resource. I want you to get the deal. I love you guys. Talk to you soon. And that's a wrap on this episode of How to Sell Your Stuff on Etsy. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today. If you're looking for more resources, head on over to howtosellyourstuff.com where you'll find podcast show notes, all the links from today's episode, the blog, courses, coaching, and more. If this episode was helpful to you, awesome. The greatest compliment I can receive from you is a rate, review, and subscribe on this podcast. Not only will it allow us to connect again on a future episode, it lets me know I'm providing you with value and helps other people find this content more easily. From the bottom of my heart, thank you for your support. Have a great day and see you next time.